Alright. Hi YouTube, how y'all doing, man? So, this is going to be a different type of video. We need to talk, alright? I didn't want to have to make this, but I wanted to tell y'all. So, I've been doing some thinking, and I've gotten worse since November. I'm not sure if it's Christmas or other things. Something just hasn't sit right with me since I had been doing stuff. And I've gotten worse. You know, I guess I guess the idea is true. If you sell out or you change who you are, you can get everything. You can gain everything, right? And I have everything I want now, but I'm not happy. And something's missing, and it just feels like, oh, it's not right, I've fallen back into my old ways. I've been struggling again. I've been going through a lot of hard shit. And I'm back where I was 3 years ago. And I don't want to be like this or to do this again. I'm not going back. I'm not. I believe the videos and the content and everything that I've been doing have been causing me to be depressed, and worse, a lot of things have been happening to me lately, man. I've been getting attacked, I've been going through spiritual warfare, I've been fallen into things that I've been falling into stuff that, like, hopefully it'll, like, that I feel that I feel like will satisfy me, but it won't, and I've been struggling. And in a sense, I kind of feel like I sold my soul. I feel like I've kind of like given my soul away. I've changed who I am. I've lost my ways, I've lost who I was, I had a time where I went through a spiritual awakening, and then I was like really was doing stuff for God and found out what I could do and my purpose and my calling, and then I was very big on that stuff for months, and then I got out of it, and now I feel empty. I've kind of given, I feel in a sense like I've given myself away to be something different, something I'm not again, to get the attention, to get the appreciation, to get people to watch, to get that feeling of being kind of appreciated, like people in my life, because like lately I've been feeling lonely, I've been feeling depressed, I've been feeling sad, and sort of kind of decided to do this stuff, follow these other creators, like the other YouTubers, again, for to hopefully like get I don't know, to like get some sort of place for myself, because I've been feeling kind of lost and confused, kind of like don't feel like I belong in certain things, and I don't know. And yeah, man, like I'm not a happy person, man. I'm not. I was really happy for a while there, but then I think when I decided to dive back into this old stuff and do it again, or it reared its ugly head, it came back and showed up again, and I started doing it again. Something just doesn't feel right. Something just don't feel something just doesn't feel normal, it just I'm getting a gut feeling not to go back to this stuff, in a way, or because I got out of it. Like I had a lot of problems for 3 years doing this stuff, and it got really bad for me. And I followed some pretty interesting people, and these people were, at the time, like, some of these people, I think, like, had, like, bad stuff around them. Some of them were, feel like, in a sense, because I've been so changed and different, and I've cleaned myself up in my life, and I've been not the same person I was, and I became better. And I've been kind of in a different state of mind, and haven't done that stuff for a long time. The devil has been using stuff in my life to get me to fall back into my old ways and to make me fall for that. He's been tempting me with this stuff I got away from, and he's been trying to get me to fall back into it, and I've been battling some serious issues in warfare, man, and he's using people in my life that I've using people in my life with that stuff that I got away from. They're popping back up. And certain things, right? And things. So I don't. It doesn't feel right, in a sense, is what I'm trying to say. And I mean the verse, the Bible verse, the thing in Scripture. It says, "What profits a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul?" In other words, what happens if you choose to follow the world and do what they do, but lose who you are? And I think I've fallen back into that, and it doesn't feel right to me. Something just doesn't click in me as a person, where it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it's something I should do. It feels like the devil has is trying to get me to fall back into something, or agree, in a sense. It's kind of offering me a deal using certain people that, if you do this, you'll get what you want. And I'm like, it just doesn't, I don't feel, it doesn't feel right to me. It just doesn't feel like, when I do this, because I don't like it because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like right in my soul, and in the wrong ways. It's the thing is, the devil will not show up with the devil will not show up with horns, a tail, and a pitchfork. He'll show up as everything you want. He will even use a person to get you to fall back into certain things. And then that person, and then that thing that he will promise you what you want, but it will end up making your life a lot more difficult. And I just haven't felt right about this because, like, ever since I've gone through my change 3 years ago, and I had a difference, And as you guys know, I became a Christian, right? And everything. I gave my life to God. I got saved in January of this year. And I dedicated my life to serving God and doing things for people, helping androgynous, telling people about the rapture, warning people about what's coming, teaching and helping people understand the Bible, Scripture, what's going on in the Middle East and how it connects to end times, Revelation, stuff like that. I became a full-on dedicated believer. I even came to learn what spiritual warfare is and how it is a real thing. It's a real thing. And the devil, he uses 3 things to get you to fall back into your old ways or to get you to do something. 1, he uses people. 2, he uses temptation. And 3, he uses individuals, that a lot of people don't realize that some people are walking around with spirits, and everything. They're walking around with spirits. They're walking around with demonic forces. There are demons that run this world. There are demons that happen to be in this world. And there are people that are controlled by spirits and demons and stuff. And there are demons that unfortunately inhabit this earth. And they're controlled, and everything. And the devil uses people just like God uses people, and everything. The demons and people to do stuff, and everything. And I never looked at it like this, but there's evil and good spirits. There's a lot of people walking around with evil spirits. Some of them are possessed. Some of them have demons, and everything. Some of these people are literal demons in disguise, and everything. That is used by Satan to destroy people, right? And everything. And you and me and everyone else, and everything. These people are just pure evil. Some of them are just do a lot of dark things, and a lot of them are, some of them can be satanic, and everything, right? And he uses people that have some sort of agenda or have some sort of have some sort of perspective on them, and everything. And he'll use individuals to trap you. He at certain as it says, he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and everything. So he used certain individuals to steal, kill, and destroy your life, and everything. And I've noticed if you are saved and living a good life and things are better for you and you are happy and you've changed and you've gotten out of the place you were before and you're better, he will use temptations and tactics and certain things to get you to fall back into your old ways or to get you to agree to do something by using a certain individual or individuals for certain stuff. And people don't realize this. The devil is real, man. He is real. He's a real person, and everything. But he doesn't have to do everything himself. He can use certain individuals to do that, to accomplish his plans. And he will come at, it's mainly people that are believers that have changed their life and improved and been better and different. He will come at them to try to tempt them, to get them to fall back into their old ways and to get them to agree to something, to saying like, I'll give you this in return if you do this, and everything. If you start doing that again, or you do this, I'll do this for you in return. Like, that's what the devil did to Jesus, when he came on when he took him up to the mountain and showed him all the kingdoms, and everything. The devil loves to promise people something in return. They'll get in return, but it doesn't work out the way that they expect. And see, that's the thing. He just doesn't want to do that. I really don't know how you sell your soul. I really don't. I've always wondered I always wondered exactly what that meant. I think it's if you give yourself up to change your ways, to follow the world and to do what the world does, in a sense, you're kind of selling your soul, in a sense, right? And stuff. And then, a lot of people, they don't feel bad with anything they do, right? They don't have any remorse or guilt. They don't have any. It doesn't bother them to do what they do. That is because I think they lack that spirit in them, or that thing in them that, where God leads them to certain things, or God tells them this is wrong, or God makes them feel like that's not for you, or you shouldn't be doing that. In a sense, kind of being led to other things, This world, I think, lacks, in a true sense, a soul, because they give themselves away and they sell themselves. They lack a soul. They lack the soul because they sell themselves out for everything in the world. They're not happy people, and everything. or they associate with demons, or they are satanic, or they are involved with the devil, or they, were into the occult, or they're, a worshiper of Satan, right? And everything. If you don't have a soul, you don't feel anything. You really don't. You don't feel you do anything wrong. And I think that's the thing about this world, is that people nowadays lack consideration for others, empathy for other people, and they don't care what they do to someone else, and it doesn't bother them. It doesn't really hurt them. It doesn't make them think about things, or it doesn't make them reconsider. They've never really had a time in their life where they reflected and looked at themselves and make it seem like what they were doing was wrong. I think, in a sense, if you have a true encounter with God, which I did, but I still struggle with a lot of stuff, right? You change, and you're not the same person. And you genuinely feel bad about what you do. Not, I just feel guilty because it's wrong, but I feel guilty because something in me tells me not to do it. Right? And everything. Like, I don't know. Like, in a sense, right? Like, you have the Spirit of God in you, right? In a sense, and you're like, that's not, anyway. So, what I'm trying to get at is I don't like this. What I'm doing, it's causing my life to get worse. It's causing me to get worse. It's making me depressed. It's doing a lot to me. It's changing. I feel like I've sold myself out and become a different person altogether. Again, falling back into my old ways. Something in me tells me that this is not right. And I become just hateful. I become a bully to individuals online. I become a troll, which I don't like. And I've become a person who just doesn't like what they're doing now. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right, and it's something that I should have never started back. Something I should have never started back that I've ended up going back to. I just, I did that stuff for 3 years. I got away from it. I changed. I was better. I was in a very, very bad place. I was in a very dark place. I had some strange encounters with stuff. I don't know if I told you guys a story, but I believe I encountered demons. in my sleep because, I had demons and spirits in my sleep, and everything that were attacking me. 3 years ago, I would stream a lot, and I would follow some of these individuals, some of these channels, some of these people, some of these puzzles. Didn't know much about them then, or didn't understand the things I do now, and that some people give off good and bad spirits. Some people, have some individuals are demonic. They have demons. You can open yourself up to something you're not aware of. Some individuals are doing some very dark stuff. Some people out there are witches and certain things. They do magic. They do a lot of bad things. They are involved with satanic cults. They worship the devil. They are involved with, a lot of really dark things. Dark magic, dark, witchcraft, and everything and stuff. And I followed a lot of weird people back 3 years ago because I was in a time in my life where I was struggling and I was in a dark place. And I just was going through a lot in my life, and I encountered some weird shit, like windows opening, doors shutting, weird sounds, scratches all over my body, arms, legs, shoulders, back, neck, chest, like 3 scratches. And this is the time before I had the encounter with God, and I changed. 3 scratches, and I believe like spirits and a lot of evil things were after me at that time. I would get cramps in my wrist. I would be in pain all the time. I would hurt. I would wake up and feel achy. I couldn't move. One time, I think my back bothered my back. I could barely walk, sit up. I don't know. I was always getting sick at night too when I would sleep. And I had some weird experiences. There were times when I just couldn't get out of bed, and it was strange. It was some very, very dark stuff, man, and I just, barely got out of that, but, I learned that those scratches represent the Holy Trinity. And just like God seals, just like it talks about the seal of God being put on the forehead, in the end times, Revelation, right? And everything. 144,000, the people the ones that are like sealed and secured, that will go to live on and be able to function in that in that future system that it talks about, and everything.
the um, devil also marks people, and stuff happens to them. And if you're not saved, you can encounter bad things in your life, and you can open yourself up to something. So, I had 3 scratches on each part of my body, and it represented the Holy Trinity. Unless you've been marked for, destruction, or something's coming after you, which I did not understand at the time, that I was having spirits and demons, certain things coming after me. I would hear noises, and I would encounter a lot of weird things in my sleep. I would also just find a lot of things to be very strange. And it was just weird because I would go to sleep and I would feel a heavy presence around me when I was sleeping, and I would wake up in fear, afraid, scared. The room got very cold when this happened, almost like ice. Think of those things in Harry Potter, right? Is kind of similar to what that would be like. The Dementors, right? And everything. I believe I encountered a presence in my life that not until I truly, became right with God, and everything, and ask God, ask Him to save me, and everything from that stuff, or from it. Or I prayed about this encounter or this situation I was in, because I didn't understand it. Did it not go away? It didn't go away until I actually came to God and changed what I was doing, and I was better. But it was just strange. Like, I don't know if I had opened myself up to something demonic or evil, or I gotten involved in something bad, like where I had been seriously I'd opened up something from another place, somebody goes, and everything. The people I was watching could have been involved in like dark magic, satanic stuff, evil stuff, demonic things. I don't know, but I never knew. I never had these scratches until that time, and yeah, like at the time, my body felt like it was breaking down. I was sick all the time. I was in pain. I was constantly uh, like uh, waking up with scratches, and everything. I was just it was weird, and I don't. It could have been hours and hours of streaming that made my wrist hurt. I don't know, but the problem was that it was strange. It was very, very strange, and I had that happen a couple of times. There would be times when I would be streaming and I would hear noises coming from my room, like out of the blue, like weird noises. So I would turn around and I was be streaming at night, and it would be creepy. So yeah, it would be weird. So I don't know what happened. But yeah, these 2 scratches, they're demonic, man. And a lot of people a lot of individuals say that that is a sign of witchcraft or some kind of like weird perspective, but nah, man. People gotta understand, dude. You know, God's real. The spiritual realm is real. Demons and angels are real. You know, Satan's, the devil's real, but he's not always in the particular. He's not always the type of thing that you will recognize. He's not always like. He's not gonna like present to you his full self. He's not present to you. He's not gonna present to you who he really is. He's gonna use some other form or something to take advantage of, to use that person to get you to fall for it. To come to you with whatever you want in return. That's what he's gonna do. The devil's not gonna show up as this evil, wicked, horrible thing, demon, okay, and everything. It's not gonna be from a video game where it's like, oh, the devil, like Diablo. It's not gonna come, it's not gonna be like this thing, or what is that show called, Lucifer? Not gonna show up as like, anyway, that's not gonna be what it is. So, but like, yeah, it's just, in a sense, yeah, it's real. It's real shit, and I didn't really understand it until I had that encounter. But yeah, the spiritual realm is a real thing, and you can get, and it can happen to you. It really can, That's why it's always good to stay, prayed up and stuff with these things, because like you don't ever know, man. And I got out of that. I got away from that, and I was better. But like, I don't know, like it all stopped when I changed the way I was, in a sense. Like a lot of believers, they call that repenting, right? Repenting and everything. Changing my ways, metanoia, which is the way you change your mindset, knowing everything. You're different, knowing everything, and stopped paying attention to all that stuff. Because they say if you let certain things into your life, it can affect the way things are in the real world. It can affect the way you are. It says to watch what you read, and to watch what you pay attention to and read, because you'll never know, and everything. Watch your eyes and your ears, right? And everything, because it's like you don't know, and everything. But like, yeah, it's a real thing, and like I am convinced to this day, and people think I'm crazy. They really do, personally, which I might be, to be honest with you. Ow, that hurt. That I encountered something from another place. I encountered something from another place. It's not of this world, not on this earth. And did not come from an animal or a cat, because I have cats, and everything, or anything that was human. These scratches were very deep. They were like painful. They were burning scratches. I'd say I encountered something from another place. I really do. And I can't explain it. I really can't explain it to people to this day, what exactly I ended up experiencing. I can't, I don't know what I don't know what it was. I really don't. You know. But I didn't used to believe in that. But yes, I believe that we have the physical realm, and we have we have the physical world, and we have the spiritual world, where things can come, where you can, where people do interact with things that do cause stuff to happen, like the occult and other bad things, you know, and everything. People interact with them. They do magic, they do witchcraft, they summon demons, they summon spirits, they use things to put people in a trance, or to control people, or to use things to get them to do what they want, right? There's some evil, dark people out there that use things to trap people into doing what they do. Okay, you know, and everything. There's some very evils. You know, there's witches and people that use dark magic and bad things. And I'm not talking about Harry Potter. I'm talking about, like, real live stuff, you know, and everything. And I'm not talking about a video game or stuff like that. There are individuals that practice demonic, satanic rituals and bad things. Unfortunately, you know, people that are evil, people that can cause things to happen. And if you watch, depending on who you watch, if you watch a lot of people in this world, unfortunately, are not saved. They're not saved. They're not believers in God. You know, they're demonic. They're evil. They're satanic. I mean, not all of them are. Some of them walk around with evil spirits. Some of them walk around with things that, you know, make them the way they are, and something's wrong with them, because you can just tell the way they talk and the way they do things and the way that they function. They don't care what they do as long as they get stuff in return for it, and they're just evil. They're just evil. They don't feel anything. A lot of people are walking around with demonic spirits. Like, that's the thing. You can't really notice that unless you, like, have discernment, or you have the ability to see and hear things, you know, and everything. Right? That's the thing. And mostly 90% of this world, if you look at it, is controlled by the devil and controlled by Satan, because he runs this world. He runs this planet we call Earth. He runs the air, in a sense. Mostly 90% of people are controlled by the devil, controlled by spirits, controlled by demons, and they worship the ways of this world. And unfortunately, then they fall into a trap. Like, that's the thing. And some people get into some really bad shit that they become they become demonic and evil. And they have no problem with doing what they do. Because that's the thing about demonic spirits, demons, things. They like some of the most vile things. Greed and all the other things you can think of, which I probably will get banned on YouTube for saying that, so I don't want to really do it. But you gotta be careful with people, man. Like, most people in this world do not have good intentions for people. They do not have good intentions. Maybe some people do, but a lot of people in this world, their intentions are pure evil, and selfish and for themselves. So, but I believe I had a weird experience with demonic forces, man. I mean, I can't really explain it, really, to tell you the truth. And when I was done, those scratches went away. So, I mean, when I kind of had my encounter with God after that, all that stuff went away. I don't know what happened, but I was feeling like I couldn't get up. I was stuck in bed. I was like mainly in bed for months around that time. I was depressed, I was sad, I was thinking about giving up on life. At one point I thought about killing myself, and everything. I was under some really heavy shit. A lot of warfare going on in my life around that time. A lot of warfare. And I would stay up late night. I would stay up most of the night, streaming all night. And I would get cramps in my wrist, and I would feel weird. I would, be achy, I'd wake up in pain. Stomach would hurt all the time, I couldn't sleep. And I would hear constant noises and weird shit around that time. Windows would open, it would get really cold in the room, I would hear noises. Sometimes I'd believe I would hear my name called. And I would hear weird things around me and everything. It would get really, really cold, not like average temperature. It would get really, really cold to a point that I think that something happened. I don't know. And it was weird. And I would have this weird experience, and then I would have scratches. I wake up with scratches, and I would have this on my body and everything, and I don't know what that was, but I would wake up with scratches a lot. I would wake up with scratches all of my body. 3 marks every time. And I started going down this road and Googling it, and looking this up, and it has to do with spiritual warfare and and certain things, and it means that you've opened yourself up to something, or you've been involved in something where demons got some kind of hold in your life, or something got a hold of your life and started doing stuff to you. And if you start feeling all that stuff, it says you could have encountered witchcraft, which is where I watched someone for a long time that was had some really dark stuff, and it was strange. And he had like this book that would talk and stuff, and it was weird. And it would say things, kind of like spells, right? Spells or certain things. When it would open, and it would talk, and then it would speak in foreign languages or certain stuff like that, or certain things, and it would be weird, and it would always do these things, and I didn't understand it until now, but I think that was like, I think that person was casting spells or doing something. At the time, and I didn't understand it, but it was some really dark stuff, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it till I went to the Bible. This is kind of interesting, and I found this weird idea. So it had like the representation of death and a crow and black birds and all this weird shit. And I don't know, it's like strange, and everything. And it was, I went to the Bible and I read this, to see what was right. And it talked about how the devil had a representation of different animals. Like, you had the snake, you had the black bird is like it was a representation of death or like certain things, and it was dark. You had the crow, which and everything, and you had these birds, which was pretty interesting. And then I looked in there, and there was this kind of representation of like witchcraft, like what I was talking about, like witchcraft, and everything. And I started going down this path, doing some research, and I came to find out that there's a thing called black magic. I don't know. It was just it was weird, and everything. I went on quite a journey, and the weird concept was, until I started getting these scratches and experiencing this, I never knew any of this stuff. Never did any research, never did any of this stuff, never paid attention to this stuff, never went down this rabbit hole of perspective. I never really was like that, in a sense. And it was just weird, man. It was just weird. And when I finally got away from that, the scratches got better. The scratches were gone. I didn't encounter that stuff anymore, and I had stopped all that stuff together and was better and in a better place, and I was happier, and probably the happiest I've been, or probably the best I've been in a long time, was back in October, and everything, October of last year, and everything. And then things were going well for me from January all the way to April until I lost my channel, and then I had to rethink about things. So I don't know, it's just, and I changed the way did stuff. I went with things, and now like I've gone back to that stuff again, and I just doesn't feel right. Like in a sense, I don't like want to. I don't know. I don't really want to go back to doing that again, or being like that, or falling into that again. I don't really want to have to like. I don't really want to experience that again. I don't really want to do that. I'm considering quitting and going back to doing rapture stuff in the Middle East and things like that. I don't know. I don't really want to. I mean, I decided I responded to one of DSP's videos, and I wanted to talk about it, and then I didn't really think I would find myself back in that again, or I would do that again, or I would be making videos on him again. I didn't really expect that I would be back in that cycle of participating in those channels, doing that stuff, watching them. In that toxic, negative environment of that perspective, in that community of people that did that, I got out of that, and I wasn't like that anymore, because I had changed, because my life was not in a good place for 3 years, but I got out of that negative environment, that idea, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I thought I would make a response, like I would give my own thoughts on that video, and that would be it. But there was a dude that promised me something, like, okay, I'm gonna tell you something. This is kind of what got me back into doing DSP content, like what got me back into like following these channels and doing content like this, and everything, and why I decided to do it again, or why I decided to get back into that, why I wanted to do it again. I didn't really think about getting back into following these channels, doing DSP content again, or making videos on these types of people. I really didn't want to get involved with this community again, because I know how toxic and how negative they are, and how the way they are as channels. I just like know the way they act and the way they are and what they represent. So I really didn't want to get involved in that community again, or find myself back, and I really didn't want to do that again. Because these channels a lot of them are trolls, a lot of them are toxic, and a lot of them just like to make videos on people just to gain something. Money, monetary gain, money, or views, or whatnot, stuff like that, right? For their channels. And I just, or they just like to make videos on people on the internet that are like this, that they can just go after, right? Or can just mess with, right? They can just make stuff on them and their lives and stuff like this, and their channels. Pretty toxic and negative, but, I just I don't know. I didn't want to find myself back in that again. So I found myself back in that community where all these people really do is just make fun of these channels and individuals that are kind of like low to the ground, or what you call the low-hanging fruit of YouTube, and everything. And what some people refer to as locals, but it's just, I don't know. these individuals who are like low on YouTube and a lot of stuff like this, and some of them are, well, you know, disabled, or they have problems, or you know, they have mental they have mental issues, mental blockages, you know, or they have disabilities, you know, and everything, and they have a whole channel dedicated to that. And I don't know, I didn't really like want to be involved with that again. And but when it comes to DSP, he's none of that. He's just a dude who is pretty greedy, you know, begs for money on YouTube and has problems with his finances and just constantly spends all his money on mobile games. But, you know, and he's just not great with the choices of what he does with stuff. But, you know, I just don't like making fun of others, like, you know, and everything like I used to, because something's changed, and I just don't do that. I don't like doing that, you know, and everything. Even if it is DSP, and I just something just doesn't feel right to me about doing that stuff, doing that kind of stuff with DSP, and I'm thinking about not doing it. I'm thinking about walking away from it, or not doing that type of content, not starting that again, or wanting to make videos on that anymore, because it's just made me kind of depressed and upset, and I don't feel right about it. And bullying and making fun of someone else and doing stuff like, you know, attacking their lives, their family, their wife, you know, their wives, their personal life, you know, and everything, things like that. There certain individuals like that, and just, you know, making a mockery out of them, or doing things like that is, I don't think it's right. I might do videos on DSP when it comes to his gameplay and how he plays games, but I probably won't. I don't like to I don't like to attack his personal life, or you know, the way he is as a person, or certain things about him. And, you know, bully people or mess with people. It doesn't feel right to me. It just doesn't feel right to me. I just wanted to kind of make a quick little video, you know, telling you guys about that, because I don't really feel like recording very long tonight. I'm kind of tired, so I just wanted to say that. Just wanted to tell y'all guys that, and that I'm considering doing other content, doing different things. I don't want to fall back into that cycle again. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to consider that. I don't want to be that guy again and do that and make that type of content, because it is. It's bullying, it's picking on others, and it's attacking people's personal life and their stuff, and it's trying to tear a person down and destroy their reputation, their channel. it's being negative and toxic. It's mean. It's just it's kind of being kind of, in a sense, a piece of shit to somebody, just because I can do it to gain whatever in return. Money, views, ad revenue, shit like that, right? It's it's just a kind of a shitty way, or kind of a bad way to, like, grow on YouTube. And to me, I don't feel like it's right. There's like something deep down is wrong about that. And I don't think it's right to bully and pick on others and attack other people. The only reason I got back, the reason I got back into doing DSP content and talking about these channels, right? Or doing content on these people that I got away from, it's because there was a dude on YouTube that I found that I really liked. His name was Urban Style Individual. I really did like his content. And he was doing stuff on DSP. One day I was playing, I was playing on emulators. I think. I was doing a lot of emulators for a while there. Until my PS5 broke, and I just haven't had the motivation to want to play games lately for some reason. Because I've kind of been upset because my Christmas is going to suck this year. Because I got to send my console into Sony to get it fixed. I'm not going to be able to do the stuff I wanted to do this year. But I was playing emulators, was playing SpongeBob and a lot of old emulators. I think I played PS2 emulator, and I got to eat something too. Actually, I've got to eat something. Actually, also, but PS2 emulator. And I like this dude's channel. So I thought about giving my thoughts on one of his videos and what I thought. Because it's been a long time since I've actually talked about DSP. I have. And because I kind of moved on from all that stuff, and I've been doing other stuff in my life now since his stuff. But I was playing emulators or something. So I think I was playing Commandos, the old Commandos games, on PSSX2 on my PC. It's playing Commandos. I came across one of his videos, and I started watching it, and I decided to talk about it. And I came in and I came in and I told him in a comment, I said, dude, I really like your channel, and everything. I used to make DSP videos for 3 years, and everything, and stuff. And I used to have a channel that I used to do stuff on. And he promised we would do like a collaboration, not a collaboration, but he promised me that he would help my channel gain, help my new channel that I've been trying to build since I lost my other one I had 3 years ago. Okay. Help it regain, like, help it regain or help it gain some sort of, like, fellowship, right? Or some sort of some sort of, like, traction, right? And you got to be careful, dude, because like I said, the devil can show up and promise you favors, or he can show up and promise you things in return for what you're getting. In other words, he can use an individual to promise you something in return, but of course, it might not work out. It might not work out in the way you think it will. Okay, and everything. So, because I was a small channel and I didn't have the audience, he promised he would. This dude promised. He said, if you start doing DSP videos again, I'll give you a shout out on my channel. And so I was like, alright. And I started doing it after Thanksgiving. I started making content on Phil again. And then I also what is it? I also but for some reason he's never I still haven't I haven't still gotten that. So in a sense, like, I don't know. A lot of things have changed recently in my life, but I just been kind of like depressed like a lot now again, and been worse. And like ever since I started doing content on Phil again, my life has felt like it's kind of gone downhill, like been more negative. I've just been more upset and been lacking in motivation, just haven't been caring. Been falling into a lot of old stuff. I mean, and not only that, but like, I go to bed and I can't even sleep. Like, I go to bed and I don't sleep well. And I wake up all the time tired. So, like, I don't know, like, what that's all about. But, yeah, like, ever since I've been following this community again, these channels, and I have been doing this stuff again, ever since I have been, in a sense, doing content on doing DSP content again, or doing stuff on Phil, my life has felt different, and I've just been straight. It's been strange, and I just haven't really felt like doing much. But I just don't feel right about it. So I don't know if I'm gonna do it, again. And it's just been one thing after another, where everything's just gotten worse, and I don't care. I just really don't like doing that, and I just, everything's gotten worse. I just don't, I don't like it. I don't like it, man, and I just don't want to fall into that cycle again, so. I don't know if I want to do that again. You know, and I just like playing Ready to Rumble boxing and stuff like this. You know, I was happy enjoying my time playing video games like all that, you know, and everything, and emulators, and I was also doing, for my PS3, PS5 broke, I had all those games I got for Black Friday, but, yeah, I just been lacking in motivation, haven't been wanting to do a lot of things, just haven't cared. Just really hadn't been in the mood for much of anything. And I've been really depressed, man. I've been really depressed. Like, and lonely and sad, and yeah, man. Thought about quitting YouTube, but I just wanted to let you guys know that in an update. That's really all I really got, man. Personally, for stuff. I would go to eat and go to bed because I'm tired. I'll see y'all guys later. Peace. Yeah, that's all I got, man.